And all right, we are back once again. Seattle Sports Secrets coming at you again. Episode, I believe this is 8 now. So
8 or 9, something like that.
it's been a good little ride, but today's exciting episode because today is opening day of Major League Baseball, and
As of this recording, anyway.
yeah, as of the recording, but I figure it'll probably go up here within the next couple days. The Mariners opening day, unfortunately, is tomorrow because of Minnesota and the weather there. But I mean, what can you do?
What
But
sucks is that I work that the exact 70 minutes after or before it starts is when my shift starts. So I'm going to have to miss the entirety of opening day, which sucks because that's exactly what I was trying to avoid. And it's like,
yeah,
Minnesota,
it
why?
is. It's really unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. There will be other opening days, and there will be other seasons. So
This is true.
not missing a whole ton, but man, this is really exciting. Just given the off season that we've had and everything that we've been through, like, man, is it so refreshing to finally be here and be playing meaningful baseball once again.
Yeah. This M's team is, I hope, going to produce some desperately needed happiness for the
Yeah,
Seattle sports uh area right now, because good lord, we need it bad. After
yeah, no doubt.
obviously the Seahawks doing their thing and the Kraken sucking air at this point. Yeah, we need the M's now more than we have in a long bit. So yeah, I'm excited for this team, and I think they make the playoffs. I really do think they make the
Yep,
playoffs this year.
I agree. And to be honest, I don't have a well, usually I come up with like a script or something or just jot down some ideas, but like I got nothing today, man. Like we just rolling. Like I just love this team, and I love this group of players. I love this organization. I love everything about what the Seattle Mariners are doing right now. I mean, like you look top to bottom from John Stanton down to the Modesto Nuts. Like this is like they are doing everything right, and they should be rewarded for that. They should be rewarded for that with a playoff spot, especially now that there are 12 team playoff formats. I definitely think that is in the cards for the Mariners this year.
Yeah, nah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. And we haven't had playoffs baseball in Seattle for 20 years. You want a Cinderella story, MLB? There is literally no better one than the Seattle Mariners. So
Yeah.
I think it's we just need it, man. We just need it so bad. And it's not going to be easy. Obviously, Houston with the division, and then you have the murderer's row of contenders in the AL East.
Yep.
But the Central is going to be pushovers for the most part. I think Detroit could give us problems. Maybe Minnesota, but I don't think so,
They don't have the
considering
pitching.
their injury problems. Chicago is could give us problems, but outside of them, not a whole lot. They're
I mean,
up there with the best of them.
yeah, you're right. And like you're talking about in the East, like it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see how the East plays out because Fangraphs actually just released their official 2022 projections, and I believe they had the Mariners at about 85 wins, which is seems about right for the moment. But they also had all four teams in the East, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays winning 88 games, which is just which is nuts at first because you're like, oh, the Blue Jays are a better team than that. But when you consider like there are 7 teams legitimately running in the running for 6 playoff spots, like it starts to make sense because they're going to beat up on each other, and Toronto's going to have to face New York and Boston as much as Tampa Bay does, and Chicago's going to have to face them a couple of times a year. We're going to have to face Houston every other game for the first half of the season. We're going to have some matchups down the stretch. It'll be interesting. The schedule is real interesting this year, and I think it'll create a lot of fun storylines and good stuff this year.
Yeah, the M's May this year is absolutely brutal. And I mean brutal. I think we play the Astros like twice that month. We play those AL East teams like the Red Sox and the Yankees. I think we have a brief respite with Baltimore at the end of the month, but we also have Kansas City in there with Bobby Witt Jr. God knows how that series is going to go.
Kansas
And
City
it's
is
just
mostly going to finish at the bottom, to be honest, but and I think right now Julio has the slight edge over Witt. Actually, I take that back. Julio has a definite edge over Witt for the Rookie of the Year, but I mean, you're right, he's up there. But yeah, I mean, with this May schedule, like it's tough, but also this roster is better built to compete with those teams than it was last May. And just look at the lineup from last opening day, where you had Dylan Moore in left field, Taylor Trammell in center field, and like you had Shed Long and some of these like filler guys, bench guys with platoon roles. And you start to see why last year's team got absolutely manhandled in May when they played the red hot Padres and they couldn't hit a lick, got no hit twice. But now you look at the opening day roster: Adam Frazier, Eugenio Suarez, Jesse Winker, and you throw in some veteran guys like I just mentioned, and as well as your Kelnicks and Rodriguez and Hanigers. And you've got a roster that is much more capable of handling that tough stretch than they were last year.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And especially considering where we were at even the start of last year, when you're giving Sam Haggerty regular playing time, something's gone catastrophically wrong. So, yeah, I think this roster is deeper than it was last year. I think it's overall better than it was last year. Now, granted, the hitting core last year, not hard to be better than that because the bar is set in the depths of Hades. But at the same time, it is significantly better with Winker and Suarez and Frazier. And I think they will contribute with this team. I think Suarez is going to have a bounce back year. And yeah, they're going to be competing right with the best of them.
Yeah, and I think just as important, and yeah, so I think just as important in that is, and I mentioned this on Twitter as well, is like the clubhouse, like good on Jerry DePoto to not only follow up and add offense, but like to go out and because a large part of last year was clubhouse chemistry and the tightness and the bonding of the group is what led the Mariners to win 90 games. So to go out and not only improve the roster, but for guys to come into spring training and be adamantly excited about having Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez and Robbie Ray and Adam Frazier is a testament to the Mariners front office, because they found not only great players, but they found great people too. And that's huge. And so I think this year's clubhouse will be just as tight and just as just as energetic as it was last year. And I think that's a huge factor, especially when you consider some like Houston, like they've definitely got a leg up on the Astros in that regard. Because you look at the Astros losing Correa, and I mean, there is still a little bit of that in Houston where it's like us against the world, but at the same time, the Mariners have been forgotten about for 20 years, or for 20 years until last first weekend of October last year. So I think that's going to be a huge factor this year, and I think they're going to like if this team gets rolling and some of the young guys like Julio start performing, and Brash and George Kirby when he comes up, if he can even be okay, even be average, this team gets rolling, they're going to be scary down the stretch. They are going to be like just scary, like truly scary down the stretch into August and September. And that's where I think like you start looking at the ceiling of this team: Kirby, Brash, Robbie Ray, Marco, Logan. Heck, what Logan Gilbert did last year, if he can add some better off-speed pitches, you start to look at his ceiling, and now you're talking about like taking down the Astros. So, I mean, we've talked about this 10 times over, but I think the clubhouse chemistry and the tightness of this group is going to play. It's going to play a very big role this season.
And that's the other thing, like, that's been missing from this team for the past 20 years is this team is hungry for it. This team wants to end it. Like, we can talk about in the past with Bavasi and Zarenzik. Yeah, they spent big money, but they didn't know where to spend it, so they just spent it everywhere willy-nilly. And where Jerry separates himself from those two idiots, in my opinion, is that he spent big money, yes, but he spent it where the team needed it to be spent. He needed a starting pitcher, he needed second base, he needed third base after Seager retired, and he needed improvement on that lineup. He hit all four of those with 3 moves. So, yeah, he didn't spend too much, he didn't spend too little. He was very precise, and that's something the M's haven't had in a long time. So, and it shows in the clubhouse too, like what you said. This team wants to end the drought. It's not just for the fans anymore. It's like they want to end this. And that hunger, that fire hasn't been seen since 01. Dead serious. I don't think there's anybody disagreeing with that either.
Yeah,
and
you're absolutely
when
right.
you talk about the upside of this team, if J-Rod absolutely sets the league on fire, which there is zero doubt in my mind that he will, if Kelnick takes steps forward, Logan Gilbert, I don't know if you've seen him, but he's been working on that 90-mile-an-hour slider that just looks disgusting. You have Kirby, you have Brash, you have Robbie Ray. If Adam Frazier can perform with what he did last year with the Pirates, if Jesse Winker decides that he can hit lefties just as well as he hits righties, he could be one of the best players in this league, bar none. Now, I get it. That's probably not going to happen, and I don't expect it. But the expectation for this team is simple. Make the playoffs. We don't expect a deep playoff run, as nice as that would be. Heck, I don't even care, honestly, if you don't win a single playoff game. As long as you make the dance, I'll be happy. That's how low the bar is here.
Yeah, I think you're onto something though about the team being hungry, and more than just the players themselves being hungry, the city is hungry. Like obviously we can talk all day about what went wrong in these 20 years, but why talk about that when there's this opportunity in front of us? And I get it. Some people are fearing the fall into the past of immediate regression after a good year. But like we've talked about, like we just mentioned with the clubhouse chemistry, like I think because these guys are so tight and so bonded together, like I don't think that's going to happen. Like I don't see that, because this is the group. I know mentioned this to you several times over the off season and before that, but like if there is any group of Mariners players that is going to end all the old stereotypes and all the stupid narratives that go along with this team, it's this one. Those old teams never had that grit and fire and desire to bring baseball back to the city, continually bring baseball back to the city. And none of the old teams had that. This team does. And so like they are bonded together. They're playing with the city behind their back. I think they can have just as good a year this year as they did last year.
And the other thing you have to consider with this too is that if everything goes right for all of the AL West teams, it is going to be a bloodbath this year. Like the Angels, if their pitching decides out of nowhere to magically appear and be good, they're going to be a problem, a massive problem with Trout and Ohtani. The Rangers, I know we talk about their pitching being an absolute dumpster fire, but maybe Seager and Simeon are the answer there, and they get to 500 and be a pain in the M side. So the Astros, even though they won the division, they need to seriously watch their backs from all of these teams, like the Mariners and the Angels and the Rangers. The A's we don't need to talk about; they're rebuilding and doing their own thing. But from the M's, Angels, and Rangers alone, those three teams can either finish 500, or in the case of the Rangers, finish below 500, or they can make the playoffs potentially.
Yeah, I mean, with the Angels, it's like you have your two guys, and that's good if Syndergaard is healthy. But I compared this. I also compared this on Twitter too. Is like Ohtani's season last year. I question how sustainable that is, because if you think about it, the only other time he did what he did last year was for 1 week in the 2018 season. 1 week. That was the only other time he's been hurt. He's been underperforming. He's had some issue going on that has prevented him until last year from doing what he did. Can he do that again? It seems to me like everyone thinks that Shohei Ohtani can do what he did again. But to me, if that's the case, if Ohtani can do what he did last year, this year, then there's absolutely no reason that the Mariners can't do what they did last year again. There's no reason.
I agree with that. And again, this is saying like everything for every AL West team goes perfect, right? Like even if the Astros, if Jeremy Pena provides to be the guy after Correa, because that is a massive question too, because losing Correa hurts. I don't care what team you are. Even if you are a team as good as the Houston Astros, as much as I hate saying that. I will never get over the trash cans. You can't make me.
I'm right there with you.
But even if there is some regression from Ohtani, and I do expect there to be at least a little bit of regression if we're talking realism, if Trout's healthy, that'll wipe away all of that regression easily. I don't think there's anybody that can deny that.
Yeah, you're right.
So unless he hits like some catastrophic injury, which this is the Angels, we can't.
We already had Tommy John, so that's out.
Yeah, we can't rule any major injury out of the question for the Angels, considering how last year went for them with losing Trout for basically the entire year. So yeah, I mean, again, this AL West could be just as good as the AL East if everything falls right for all of the teams, sans the A's.
I don't think it's quite at that level yet. If the Angels had got more pitching, then there's definitely a 1 through 3. But the AL East is so tight that I don't think it's quite there right now. The West, right as it stands right now, the West is a 2-team race, and that's the Mariners and Astros. And
100%.
it's still the Astros. It's still the Astros division to lose, but the opportunity is there for the Mariners. Like losing Correa, like you mentioned, losing Correa hurts any team, no matter what. And the fact that the Astros didn't replace him or opted to wait for Pena to replace him, and maybe Pena works out. You never know. Who maybe J-Rod doesn't work out. I mean, you never know. But the chances of that are for J-Rod 50-50. For Pena, I honestly have no idea. But I mean, like the opportunity is now for the Mariners to go open their window of sustained success, like we've talked about for, like Jerry has talked about. The opportunity is now. The window is open. The Astros are vulnerable, so I think the ceiling for this team is absolutely the AL West title.
God, could you imagine if the AL wild card, the first few games in Seattle in terms of playoff baseball in 20 years, Mariners Astros wild card series? How crazy would that be?
That would be pretty crazy. I mean, it's going to be crazy no matter what. If when the Mariners make the playoffs, I think it's a when, not an if at this point. It's going to be nuts. I mean, first we're talking about the first playoff game since before you and I were born.
Yeah,
that's crazy to say, but
and that's why this is such a big deal too. Because
yeah, you're right.
Fans like you and I, we're adults. We're actual adults, and we have yet to see the Mariners play a playoff game live. We have yet to see that. So when the M's, whenever that is, when they make the playoffs for the first time since 01, yeah, I'm gonna lose my mind. And it's gonna be fantastic, and I cannot wait. And I will 100% be buying that playoff merch.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like, you can see behind me, like, some of the just in this picture, like, the stadium is fairly filled, but you start imagining like take the Angels series and multiply it by 10, and now you're talking about a Mariners playoff game. Like this city is ready to rock, to absolutely rock. And
there's a reason why I call Seattle sports fans 12s. And it's not just because of the Seahawks. It's because that same loudness applies to every single sport. Obviously, the Seahawks made it popular when they won it all in 2013. But you saw it with the M's in 95, in the Kingdom, where the 12s were born, basically. You saw it when the Sonics were here, when they won their championship. And sometime in the future, whenever that is, you'll see the Kraken it'll be the same exact thing when they make the playoffs for the first time. So it's, as much as people are like, oh, rip the 12th man whenever Russell Wilson got traded, that's not the case, because the 12th man is the Seattle sports fans. That's
it is the city as opposed.
It truly is the entire city of Seattle sports fans as a whole, regardless of whether it's baseball, basketball, soccer, football, hockey, name a sport that's in Seattle. All of their fan bases are the 12s. So, and when you see the Mariners in the playoffs, regardless of whether it's this year or next year, because I think we all can agree, there's not a doubt in my mind that the Seattle Mariners will make the playoffs next year.
Next year for sure. Next year, if we can get into this a little bit, I think I sent you, maybe or not, it doesn't matter, but next year, like this time next year, the Mariners could be looking like the Blue Jays are this year. Like, you're just loaded 1 through 9. Your rotation is just stacked beyond belief. Your bullpen is elite and deep, as it is right now, but more so next year. And for the Mariners, like, next year, you're hosting the All-Star game midsummer. Like, that's motivation to go out and get to the World Series. Not just forget the playoffs next year. You're hosting the All-Star game. You've got talent galore over your roster by that point. Forget the playoffs. Let's go to the freaking World Series. Let's make this city go nuts because that is the ultimate goal. That's always the ultimate goal. I mean, every team will say that. And obviously some teams are better in better position than others, but this team is well set up for the future. So well set up for the future.
I'm going to tell you right now, if the Seattle Mariners make the World Series, whenever that is, the entire Pacific Northwest will lose its mind. And I mean lose its mind. You will have, because it's not just the state of Washington, it's Oregon for the most part, it's Alaska,
Idaho,
it's Idaho, it's Montana for the most part. That's 5 states, including Washington. 5. All of them will lose their minds. Because, again, the last time the Mariners made the playoffs, 2001, 116 wins, and they made the ALCS and lost to the Yankees, who eventually lost to the Diamondbacks in one of the greatest World Series ever, in all honest opinion.
Yep.
So, and again, the last time the All-Star game was here was 2001. So it is not out of the question to see the M's make the World Series with the All-Star game being in.
I think it'll happen. I've dug up some old files and some old emails. Like I've been calling this, I have legitimately been calling the 2023 Seattle Mariners to make the World Series since
You've been calling it since freshman year, I'm pretty sure.
Since the beginning of this rebuild, since Jerry DiPoto hit the nuclear codes and sent Robinson Cano to the Mets.
In one of the greatest trades ever.
Yeah. But another thing I want to touch on is not just the on the field product, but look at the Mariners organization as a whole. Like they are creating an absolute fan experience. They are doing all the things that championship organizations do. They just lowered concession prices. That's just the starter, but they are revamping the stadium. They are doing all sorts of community things, or they've always been active in the community under this regime.
Every Seattle team has. Let's be honest.
That's true. That's fair. I'll give you that. But like, I mean, they are doing all the things right now that championship organizations do, and they are trying to maximize the experience that you get to draw out these fans to come to games, obviously because the team is good, but also because, like they're doing these things. So I'm also extremely proud of what the Mariners are doing on the business side as well as what they're doing on the field, because it's great. And it's what makes me want to go back to games like these Mariner value games where it's like $10 seats. Like that's attractive as a person, as a person and as a fan. Like that is really attractive. And like you think about like season ticket members now versus 10 years ago, they have upped their season ticket member to where you can have it flexible to pick and choose what games and be able to work around scheduling conflicts and make it really easy to go to games that you want to go to. And that is called optimizing the fan experience. And that's what the Mariners are doing right now. And that's what will fill the stadium alongside the on-field.
Part of what makes the bad teams kind of the best ones to go to, because if you look at teams like Detroit and Cleveland who don't have that success, the reason they get their fans in the building is because the fan experience is great. because you get the option to pick and choose all of these things. And for the M's, it's the exact same thing. I mean, one of the best games I've ever been to as an M's game was when I got this shirt many, many, many years ago. It was Felix's first start after he threw that perfect game. To this day, even last year, I have never seen that stadium more packed. And the only time that I've ever seen it come close was last year against the Angels
Days.
in that final state, in that final year. And it was sold out there. I couldn't even imagine what it was
And the
like.
home opener is already sold out. This Friday, what is it, the 7th? So that would be 14th. Next
16.
Saturday, I believe it is, the 15th. Or
Yeah.
next Friday, the 15th, April 15th, Houston Astros will come to Seattle for the opener. That game
That's going to
is
be a
already
fun
sold out.
series. That's going
That
to be a
game
very fun
right
series.
now is sold out. It is they have announced that the stadium for April 15th is sold out. So
Yeah.
that just shows you like people are investing in this team. And when Julio Rodriguez jerseys go on sale
I think they went on sale today,
on
didn't they?
Friday, I think they said it's the day of opening day. So it's the day before he makes his debut, which could be today or it could be tomorrow. I don't know.
But those jerseys will
But
sell
those
out.
jerseys are going like that. They're going like that. And so that's and you bring up Cleveland and Detroit and some of these other teams, but they don't have the blend of everything for fan
Yeah,
experience.
they
Just
aren't
also
that
kind
good,
of
so they have to rely on the fan experience, which is what I'm saying. The M's are doing that while at the same time being good, and that's what makes this team different.
yes,
Plus, they're using social media to their advantage. I don't
exactly.
know
Yeah,
if anyone's taken a peek outside of Mariners fans at Mariners Twitter, but that is a must follow for anyone that has an account. I personally don't because I don't use social media outside of YouTube, but it is even I pay attention to Mariners Twitter because that's it. They're just so good at using memes, doing the mixing the promotional stuff. It's the perfect blend for a baseball team. And again, must follow stuff.
exactly. And honestly, they do a better job of marketing their team than Major League Baseball does of marketing its own game. But yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's part of the fan, and that's a big part of like when you're going to a game is like you don't want to go to a game and see your team lose. Like, and some of those, that's why like you don't see. That's why there's no attendance at Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Texas, Arizona games. But like Detroit and Cleveland, like they're on kind of on the uprise, but like that's just as big as we talk about the fan experience. Like that's just as big. The team plays just as big a role. And like you just said, the Mariners are that perfect blend of they're doing all the right things to attract fans on the business side, but they're also an extremely talented on-field team that you want to go see every game, that you want to watch them every night because you never know what you're going to see.
Yeah. So I don't know if you got my text, Ryan.
Which one are you referring to?
The one that I sent not too long ago, I think right before we recorded. But I made a spreadsheet that I can't really edit right now because my computer is weird. But it's
Oh, yeah,
basically
yeah, yeah. Let me pull that up right
yeah.
now.
So I made a sheet where it's gonna be basically Ryan and I just predicting what the MLB season's gonna be this year. Because again, it's so intriguing on both sides, not just the AL, but we could spend all day talking about the NL with the Dodgers and the Padres in the West and the Mets in the East and the Braves, obviously the
Right.
reigning champs, Cardinals and Brewers and all of this, all of these great, even the Giants. The Giants still have a shot to make the playoffs, even though their team is like the Tom Brady's of the
Yeah, for real. So
of
I'll
the.
go ahead and I'll go ahead and share my screen here.
There we go.
So yeah, so I just see.
So it's just
So
gonna be division winners, and then in the wild card we just put our wild card team, our wild card teams. We're
oh,
not
I
gonna
see.
do like
Okay,
full
I see.
standings or anything like
Right,
that.
right, right. I
So
see. All right, so I'll go first. AL West. Or I'll start in the NL. Actually, let's make this
yeah,
fun.
let's start at NL
Start in
and
the NL.
work our way over.
Obviously, it's the Dodgers. It's the Dodgers, like sort of like the Astros in a way. It's Dodgers until proven otherwise, and that's like with the Padres and the Giants.
Yeah, as much as I hate the Dodgers, it's
Good on the
impossible not to
Giants
go with LA.
for winning last year, but and Padres, like you're like the Mariners, like you got to prove yourselves. But um, I think this is just NL West is still the Dodgers.
Yeah, I
In the
mean, as
Central,
much as I hate the Dodgers and their fans, it's impossible not to go with LA in the
let's
West. So
go
yeah,
Dodgers. We'll go 102 and 60.
I don't even think
Freddie
we need to do
Freeman.
win totals. Honestly, I think just
Freddie
Dodgers
Freeman.
is
That
just fine.
lineup is ridiculous. NL Central. This one is interesting because I've seen a lot of people pick the Cardinals, and that's pretty good. I mean, there's definitely a valid argument for the Cardinals, um, but to me, it is all the way because that pitching staff is honestly the best in the business. You don't get better than Corbin Burns, Freddie Peralta, Adrian Hauser, Aaron Ashby, Josh Hader. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. You don't get better than the Brewers.
Not in terms of pitching, no.
Yeah, I
I
mean
mean, they have the NL,
that's
the
another
reigning
question
NL Cy
too.
Young for a
Can they
reason.
hit? Yeah, can they hit? That's the big
Yeah,
thing with the Brewers. Can they hit their way into the World Series?
I love Daniel Vogie. I love Vogie Bomb. I love me some Vogie, but outside of him,
Vogelbach,
I don't know who's
did
really
you?
producing outside of Yelich.
Vogelbach signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates,
Oh right, I forgot he did that. So they don't even have
and
Vogelback with
they started him at leadoff today. The Pirates started Daniel Vogelbach at leadoff.
Honestly, it's the Pirates, so I'm not that surprised.
Yeah, they signed Cabrian Hayes to an 8-year, $70 million extension.
Honestly,
And yeah, I
deserved by
mean,
Cabrian. Probably
with
not by the
Cabrian
Bucks, but
or for the Pirates, that's an absolute steal because it's like
absolutely.
what happened with Ronald Acuna Jr. is like I understand the take the guaranteed money side of it because I mean you don't know how much if you're Hayes, like you don't know how much you're gonna get in free agency, but in that sense I understand him taking the money, but at the same time, like, come on, man, you got to believe in yourself a bit more because that's like, in that's it. I mean, it is. That is no shortage of money, but at the same time, when you look at it in the major MLB standpoint, like he sold so short on himself, and as you just hate to see a young stud like Brian Hayes do that.
This is true.
But anyways, moving over to the East again, this is another prove it until, or it's another team until it isn't. Atlanta, they could very well go back to the World Series. I mean, they're getting Acuna back. They got Matt Olson to replace Freddie Freeman, who's going to be just as good. I mean, like this team is legit. They are World Series or bust. This
I've
is
seen people complain about Matt Olson about Matt Olson being a Brave and not Freddie Freeman. I'm someone who has seen Matt Olson absolutely terrorize the M's for a long time. Matt Olson's a damn good player, and I
Yeah.
mean damn good player.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
don't be complaining,
They
Atlanta.
will.
You
They will enjoy having Matt Holson for
yes, they will.
8 years.
I love that swing of his too. It's like
Yeah.
he's powering up and then he just absolutely knocks it to the moon.
All right. National League wild card. So this one's interesting because now we are talking about the Phillies, the Giants, the Mets. I think actually that'll be my first team. I really like what the Mets did. I know they're the Mets. They're the Mets, the little Mets, as Mr. Tree would call them. But I really like what they did in the offseason. They stabilized their lineup. They added a legit ace in Scherzer. I love what the
Scherzer and
Mets
Bassett are
did.
huge for me.
Canna, Marte, not Conforto. He hasn't signed yet. Who else did they get? Canna, Conforto, or Canna, Marte, and they got some other bats. I love what the Mets did this offseason. I think they're gonna.
Plus, they still got Lindor too. I mean, yeah, they
Yep.
lost Javi
Yeah.
Baez, but you also
Yeah.
got Mark Cannon
You got
and
Lindor for
Starling
9 more
Marte.
years. So Mets are one for me. I think you're right
Plus, you
about the
still have
Giants.
Cano if he can stay off the PEDs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, how much value is Cano going to give you now? He's 38, 39 years old, who is a primary DH. I mean, unless he hits, but like defensively, there's little to
I
nothing there
I
anymore.
think he's the DH for the Mets. I really do.
Yeah. I like you mentioned, I like the Giants. I think they won't be quite as much. Them, like the Mariners, will be hit by the regression bug, but I still think they make the playoffs. And for the last spot, I mean, we're talking about the Phillies, the Padres. It's just the NL. The NL is kind of weird. I'm going to be honest because I'm
It's a
going to
little
go with the
weak.
Padres here. I'm going to go with the Padres just because the Phillies are weird and foolish, not foolish baseball. John Boy, or no, not John Boy. Jolly Olive, or no, I keep forgetting. Wrong content creator again. Uh it
He's getting
was
all his baseball content creators mixed up.
Sports Storm. Sports Storm did a YouTube video today on the Phillies and their defense. And
Oh, their defense is going to be absolutely atrocious.
the strategy they took with all offense, no defense. And he's right. Like this experiment, it's either going to go off. They're either going to go off and make the playoffs and be okay with that defense, or their pitchers are just going to crash and burn and they're going to be mired in mediocrity. I think the mired in mediocrity is more likely, but I mean, we'll see.
I mean, you're setting all those pitchers in Philly up to fail. I don't know who they have on the mound, but it's not
Well,
like anybody scary, I don't think.
you have Wheeler and Noah. Wheeler and Noah are a freaking
Okay.
good 1-2
Yeah.
punch.
Yeah. Zach
And
Wheeler
and
and
JT
Nola are great.
Realmuto is the one of the best defensive catchers in the game. So I mean, it's not like they have no defense, but the
But
outfield defense and the infield defense up the middle is, and the infield
awful.
defense is going to be outfield defense is going to be absolutely atrocious and horrendous and all of the above. Infield defense might just be mediocre. And then, I mean, after Wheeler and Nola, who knows? Like, so I like the Padres. I like the Padres over Philly. You want to?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at the NL West. Again, I think with the West, it as much as I hate LA and the Dodgers, it's impossible not to go with them winning the West. I think they're just too good. They added Freeman. Like it's just infuriating how good they are all the time. So, NL Central again. I'm. I do like the Cardinals here, but I'm gonna go Brewers again. I'm gonna go Brewers. I like the Brew Crew. Man, all of those Milwaukee teams are just way too good right now. I
Yeah.
mean, you got the Packers who, yeah, who knows what's happening there, but you also got the Bucks coming off of a natty. So yeah, I like the Brew Crew. And at least again, Braves until proven otherwise. I think the
Yep.
Mets may be able to give them a run, but I don't. It's just impossible not to pick the Braves. As far as wild card, again, this is so interesting. First wild card, I'm actually gonna go Padres here. I think I
Okay.
like what they did. Obviously, they have the bullpen now to compete with the big boys, and if Tatis gets healthy, I mean, we know how dangerous they can be. As Mariners fans, we saw it firsthand last year, and I think they may have gotten better. So if Tatis stays healthy, I think the Padres give the Dodgers a run for their money. Second wild card, this might be crazy, but I'm going Cardinals. I'm going St. Louis here.
You're right.
I think Arenado and Goldschmidt are too good. I think the Cardinals are just too good right now. I mean,
Right.
obviously they had that 17 game winning streak to propel them in this time. I don't think they'll need it. I don't think they'll need it with how weak the NL is.
I think you
That
bring up an interesting point with the Cardinals too. Is like I wonder what Wainwright is going to be able to do, because obviously he broke out. He had that ridiculous season last year. You just went off, but I wonder what he's if he's got more in the tank this year. He's like Scherzer, like age is starting to get a concern, and so I wonder what he's got left in the tank. But yeah, I mean Tyler O'Neill is just a tank. He's a dude. Harrison Bader, good player out in center field. I mean, their infield. This is one of the best defensive teams in baseball, if not
they're
the
right
best
up there with the
defensive.
M's defensively. They're right up there.
Well, Mariners outfield defense is
A little questionable with Winker, yeah, but
Winker, Haniger. I mean, we'll see about Kelnick and left. I think he might be
I think
okay,
Kelnick
but
and left will be good.
it'll be it'll be not fun to watch out there for the Mariners. But yeah, yeah. So I like Cardinals there too, but I just like my three better.
Obviously.
Your last team.
Last one. Ooh. For me, it's between the Giants and the Mets. I don't like Philly. I just don't. I think they'll just be mediocre again.
Completely fair.
I'm gonna go Giants. I'm gonna go Giants. It's not the greatest pick, and it's definitely similar to what we had last year in terms of the National League. But again, I like the Giants a lot. I like Brandon Crawford. I like the addition of Rodon, I think is who they got, the big guy they got.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I like the Giants over the Mets. I think Lowell Mets will strike again, and something will happen there.
All right. So heading over to the East here. AL East is tough because I mean you've
Toughest
got
division in
four
baseball,
teams.
easy.
Yep, four teams. I think for me, it goes to. I
Blue
think the Blue
Jays, all
Jays
right.
have the guns to take this division, and I know again it's Rays until proven otherwise, but the Blue Jays have the star power that the Rays don't have. And the Rays continually churn out talent that no one's heard of. But I think
They
this is
also
the
lost
year.
Austin Meadows. That's big.
Yeah. And I think this is the year that finally catches up with them, and the Blue Jays firepower takes them to ultimately a World Series title. So Blue Jays in the East for me.
Do you want me to do
You?
my AL East?
Yeah.
All right. I'm sticking Tampa. I mean, we all thought that, you know, oh, New York is going to be the one that takes the title from Tampa, and then they went and got 100 wins with the current manager of the year. So, I mean, yeah, even though they lost Austin Meadows, I think that is going to be a massive blow for them. But at the same time, I really like. I've learned not to doubt Tampa, so yeah, I'm going with the Rays.
All right, moving over to the Central. This one's interesting because it's a pretty weak division. I mean, you've got some interesting teams because this is where most of the rebuild. This is where the
Kansas
rebuilds are.
City,
Kansas City and
Cleveland.
Detroit. Kansas City and Detroit, and I mean Cleveland's still okay. I mean, we'll see what happens with they just extended Ramirez, but we'll see what happens there. But the two rebuilding teams, the clear favorite, pretty easy for me.
Yeah.
Chicago, Chicago, Chicago White Sox. Pretty easy.
Yep.
And I would assume the same for you.
No, actually.
Oh,
I'm gonna be
got an
I'm gonna be
upset.
crazy here. I'm picking the Tigers to win the Central this year.
Ooh,
I like the Tigers. I like how they
and
got
Torkelson.
Javi Baez and Austin Meadows to pair with Badu. And if they still have Miggy Cabrera, let's see how the Yerminator comes back. And again, there's some issues. I think the pitching could use some work because I'm not familiar with Detroit's pitching staff down
Yeah.
there.
They actually got
But
Andrew Chafin, lefty reliever that I wanted the Mariners to get, unfortunately.
yeah, I think
But
Chafin's going to be
he's a
great
good
for him.
arm. He's a good
But I
arm on his
think
one.
I think they can do it. I think they can do it. I'm probably going to be horrifically wrong, but I mean, I'll take a flyer on
I like the
Detroit. I
pick.
like
Yeah.
them. I like them winning the Central.
All right. No biases here, but we have to go out west.
Yeah. Oh, this is so hard.
This is tough because like we've talked about, like the ceiling is
Division easy.
the Mariners win the West. But the question is, will they get there? For me, I think it's still Astros by a game. By a game, they go 91-71 or 92-70. Mariners go 91-71. And for me, Mariners first wild card. About you?
Yeah, I'm going Astros too. I really want to go M's, and that's not out of bias. I think they're going to be a really good team. But yeah, I mean, it's Houston. Come on. All right, so second wild card for you.
Yeah, wild cards. This is going to be interesting. So White Sox. So we have got, and then pretty much okay. So for me, the second team is easy. Boston, because the Red Sox are just good. And then the third spot, I think it'll come down to New York. And who's the other one? Tampa Bay. Yeah, so Tampa Bay, New York, Tampa Bay. I think that the Rays are going to edge out, or no, sorry. I think the Yankees are going to edge out the Rays this year because the Rays, I mean, yeah, I know this is a bad bet to bet against them, but like they lost some dudes this year and they might replace it. Devil Magic. I will definitely eat it if I'm wrong, but I think the Yankees.
That's your version of my Tigers pick, my friend.
Yeah, I think the Yankees edged them by a game.
I made this wild card really damn hard because for me, the last two spots come down because I don't even have the Yankees competing because to me the last two wild cards are down to the Red Sox, the White Sox, and the Blue Jays. I think for the second one, give me Toronto. Give me Toronto as the second one because I think their offense is just too good.
Yep.
And this is going to be crazy, but give me the White Sox. Give me the White Sox as the third.
Not that crazy. So you have
So I don't have Boston making it. I think they miss it by a game.
Boston and New York missing. Interesting. So just to recap, we'll go down the divisions here. Astros in the West, Mariners, and then for me, Angels, Rangers, A's.
Same for me.
I think in the Central it'll be White Sox. This is where it gets interesting too. White Sox, I think it'll be Cleveland in second.
Really? All right.
I like their pitching. They're a pitching factory. I love Shane Bieber.
And J-Ram.
If they've got some young guys coming up, I think they'll finish second. Detroit will be third. We've talked about them. They've got some good. They've got a decent roster, not quite there yet. They're about a year behind the Mariners. And then Minnesota, who has any idea what the Twins are doing in Kansas City. You agree or disagree?
Obviously I disagree because I have the Tigers winning that division.
All right, so for you, we'll go.
So it'd be Detroit and then Chicago, the White Sox. Give me Minnesota at 3. I think Correa makes them better than Cleveland. And then Cleveland 4, Kansas City 5.
Yeah, so Kansas City, obviously the consensus.
Though I think Kansas City has the potential to be really good over the next few years.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they are a year behind Detroit, who is a year behind us, and Baltimore is like 2 years behind Kansas City. East, after Toronto, I have who do I have? Boston. I really like Boston.
I do too. That team's gonna be really good, especially with Trevor's story.
Tampa. And then Baltimore is not winning any games, especially in that division.
Not in that division, nah. I think See, you can put Baltimore in the 5 for me too, obviously. I mean, I don't think there's any world where
you have Toronto and
Toronto second. Give me Boston at 3. Okay, I know that's super stereotypical and what a lot of people are saying, but I
don't know. It's interesting. I haven't heard a lot about the Red Sox, so that would leave New York at 4 and Baltimore.
Yep, New York at 4.
All right, so
I don't think the Yankees did enough to compete.
Over to the NL West. This is Dodgers for both of us. For me, it's Giants.
For me, it's Padres.
Then I think these last 2 spots, it's a Diamondbacks and Rockies. I think it's a coin flip, even with Chris Bryant.
Yeah, it really is.
Then you have Dodgers.
You can flip the Padres and the Giants.
Giants.
And then just flip the Rockies and Diamondbacks. I think the Rockies are a little bit better, but not by much.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I think Germán Marquez puts them over the top because the Diamondbacks have absolutely no pitching. Yep. And the only player worth anything on that team is Ketel Marte.
Who signed a very cheap extension, by the way. That's interesting. Some of these team-friendly contract extensions that are going down right before the season. In the Central, I have the Cardinals in second. Cubs third. Reds and Pirates. Pretty.
Yeah, I have the same exact thing.
Cardinals.
Like,
Cubs.
I'm very tempted to
Reds.
put the Reds below the Pirates, but I think the Pirates are just too bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's like the Reds still have some guys. Like they have Tyler.
They're gonna get Hunter Green, who I think is
Hunter
going to
Green. Yeah. I
absolutely
mean, the
wreck
Reds have
everything in his path.
some watchable players. Like there's just no one. It's like, well, I take that back. To Brian Hayes, O'Neill Cruz, and Brian Reynolds. That's it.
Yeah.
From Pittsburgh. That is it. And then Brave, we both have Braves. And then this one I have Mets at 2.
I have Mets at 2 as well.
And this is where it gets interesting. I like Miami. I think they're going to get to 500 this year. I like what they're doing. They invested their offense. I think it's good stuff.
I think they're still a little far out yet.
Yeah, I think
A couple years down the line, then yeah, they're in contest to win the division, in my opinion. But I don't think right now they're good enough to beat the Phillies.
Oh yeah, you're right. Phillies. I'll put Phillies third because they actually have a good offense. Even if they don't make the playoffs, they will score a ton of runs. Then I'll put the Marlins.
And then the Nats, who are just straight up rebuilding.
Who else am I forgetting? I always forget one team.
Nationals.
Oh yeah, Nats. Yep.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. Again, I think the Marlins have are kind of in the early stages of the rebuild. I think if you give them a couple years, they'll be really good. I like their pitching. I like Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah. Pitching is really good. They are strong in pitching, but they just really
as much as I like Jazz Chisholm, he needs help.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I think the Marlins need offense more than the 2021 Mariners.
They really do.
Like it's that bad, man. So all right, that looks pretty good. I think yeah, I mean we are in for one heck of a baseball season. I cannot wait.
There's so many different ways this could go. There really are.
There truly is. So I'm excited.
I mean, NL is a little bit more clear cut, but the AL is wide open for pretty much anybody.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, yeah. It'll be tight. The AL will be tight. The NL probably. Honestly, I think this is the most competitive. When I look at all of these teams, this is the most competitive field of major league teams I have seen in a while.
Yeah.
Because the last few years, it's been either AL dominant or NL dominant. And this year, it's like
it's a little bit of both.
A number of these teams could go off and surprise people. So, yeah, man.
I mean, who knows? We may be wrong about the Phillies, and they absolutely wreck everyone and are gods defensively or something. I doubt it'll happen, but who knows?
Yeah, I look forward to getting out and trying to get out to some Mariner games this year. Hopefully with you, it should be a really fun season. And
gonna try and catch one of those Toronto games in the summer. It should be fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for us. Once again, this is Seattle Sports Secrets, episode numero 8.
Yep.
I'm Ryan Anna with Tristan Pratt. Thank you all for listening. And we will see you all next time. See you later,
everyone.